Stephen A. Smith.
Yes.
This comparison, which I've heard ad nauseum, is completely and utterly off base. And first, let me say about the post-career Brett Favre that I've been observing. He's turned into this football ambassador, always wearing rose-colored glasses, as if you could ask him, hey, Brett, do you see any of yourself in Christian Ponder? Yeah, I see a lot of myself in Christian. He's a great young player. How about Blaine Gabbert? Yeah, he reminds me a lot of me in my early days. Yeah. I mean, that's where we've come with Brett Favre. Now, let me remind you, Johnny Manziel doesn't have remotely the arm that Brett Favre had when he came out of southern Mississippi. Brett Favre had one of the all-time cannons. I'm talking about 100-mile-per-hour fastballs. The early knocks on Favre was that he depended too much on his arm strength, that he would try to gunsling it through the tiniest crack between two defensive backs and often get burned by it. And I can attest to this because I covered the early Cowboy teams that were playing the early Green Bay Favre teams in the early 90s.
Got you.
And the book on Favre, every week I would hear from the defensive backs of the Dallas Cowboys, we know he will throw us 3 or 4. It's just up to us to be ready to try to catch the 100-mile-an-hour fastball because it will hit us in the hands about 4 times. Now, to Brett Favre. He never, ever remotely had the quickness, the rare quickness that Johnny has, the escapability that Johnny has. Johnny can run through cracks, and maybe that will occasionally get him in trouble as he tries to gunsling more with his legs than his arm. Johnny has, to me, just a decent arm. It's decent enough for pro football, but it is not a cannon, and he cannot rely on it and lean on it to a fault. Even on the deep balls, Johnny has to anticipate and get rid of it quickly, and sometimes there's a little bit of shot putter going on where he has to get a little bit of a running hop start to get the deep one to Mike Evans. He'll get it there in his own way, but please, there's nothing remotely comparing to Brett Favre's arm and Johnny Manziel. 2 completely different players all the way down to 6 feet tall and 6 feet 2 inches tall with Brett Favre.
Well, here's why I disagree with you. I disagree with you because I think you're misconstruing what Brett Favre was trying to say. If you're talking about his arm, you're absolutely right. If you're talking about escapability, you're absolutely right. But I think what Brett Favre was addicted to, what he was enamored with, was a Johnny Manziel that he's sure that had that it factor, that had that will to win, that had that fire in his belly, you know, to get the job done, and a renegade's mentality. I'll do it myself if I have to, damn it, but we're not losing this game. I can see Johnny Manziel completing 62% of his passes. I can see Johnny Manziel also throwing 336 career interceptions if he had a 20-year NFL career like Brett Favre, if he is to have a 20-year NFL career like Brett Favre does. Because I could see Johnny Manziel pushing the envelope, pressing the issue, and trying to make things happen and trying to provoke the spectacular, because just doing it methodically and incrementally and in a very boring and mundane fashion is not something that works for him. I can see Johnny Manziel being that guy. The arm strength, no, not like Brett Favre's. The escapability, no, Brett Favre didn't have it, Johnny Manziel does. But those other intangibles that you applaud, I don't even think you've realized this, Skip, but on many, many occasions, as I sat here listening to you talk about Johnny Manziel over the months and over the last year or so, to me, the first person that popped in my head in terms of thinking about who you liked like that was Brett Favre.
Okay, because you're talking about competitive playmaking spirit.
But that's what I'm talking about. So I'm not disagreeing with. I'm saying to you, I would challenge you to go back and watch old tapes of First Take of yourself talk about Brett Favre, and then watch yourself talk about Johnny Manziel. I'm not talking about the skills. I understand how you dissected this skill set.
By the time I started on First Take, Brett was so deep in his career, he didn't play that way he played early.
Yeah, but what I'm saying to you is when Brett Favre, the 102 passer rating with 33 touchdowns and just 7 interceptions, you should watch yourself talk about Brett Favre that season. You should watch yourself reminisce.
A lot of good pocket passing.
Yeah, but again, like I told you, you can dissect it, and I understand what you're saying in terms of the differences. Brett Favre's arm strength, his lack of escapability, those things are different from a skill set. But I think what Brett Favre is alluding to when he says a young me, he's talking about that renegade.
All right.
And that's where
fair.
He gets it from.
Okay, I do think Johnny is getting a bad rap on not having enough patience in the pocket. Listen, go put the tape in of the second half at Arkansas last year. He was methodical. He picked them to pieces, and he was completely content to use his running game as much as his arm. I'm using running backs, not him running. So I'm saying Johnny will get it done. Johnny just wants to win the football game. He's not interested in being the star of the show. He just wants to win the game.
But I also think you're taking that wrong. I don't think it's been a criticism of Johnny Manziel so much as the fact that he has the ability to make things happen with his legs just as much as his arm. So if you're standing in the pocket, if you see people looking at him and saying, well, you know what, he's quick to get out of the pocket, you're right. Sometimes he's more patient than given credit for. But the time he appears to lack patience, it's not because he's panicking. It's because he sees an opportunity to make a play with his legs, and he didn't see anybody open. So he goes for it.
I would agree.
That's what he does. And so, but we have to understand what his skill set is, what's similar to Brett Favre and what isn't. The renegade in Johnny Manziel is similar. The skill set is a little bit different. Not quite the arm strength, but he has enough arm strength, and his legs are going to make up for a lot of things because he's going to have the ability to extend plays. And if he's extending plays, guys are going to get open. And if they're getting open, then he's not going to need the rifle arm that Brett Favre needed to squeeze it in a small, tiny space, because Brett Favre didn't have that escapability. He didn't have it.